Good morning or good afternoon, evening, Sasha. How are you doing today? Afternoon. So, thanks for making some time. I know we got a Thwack Camp session to talk about logs, and I kind of wanted to make sure we're going to talk about the same thing. So, I'm I know we have a lot of products, but I'm having trouble categorizing them, and you've had a little more experience with it. So, can you kind of give me the 10,000 foot view to start?
Okay, so actually, I left work a little bit earlier this morning and was thinking about how to point out the difference in the log tools. And I started with counting them, and it's like five. Okay, so
Yeah.
we actually have five different log tools.
Hmm.
Um, the one of the problems I've had this morning, and I usually have it each morning, is we work in a tech company, so
Hmm.
everyone is drinking coffee.
Yes.
That includes me, probably you, and unfortunately, yeah,
Hmm.
unfortunately, almost everyone else. So during rush hours in here in SolarWinds, there's like a queue in front of the coffee machine. Different coffee machines for different coffee would probably make it a little bit easier, but that's a different story. But
Yeah.
while thinking about that, I'm like, there's different cups. So this tiny cup here obviously is for espresso. So
Hmm.
tiny shot, highly caffeinated. Okay. One step up would be this one here, and that would be your typical cappuccino cup. So a little bit of espresso and steamed milk and the spoon. All right.
Hmm.
The next thing is I have too many cups here. This one for a latte, perhaps. So a little bit more coffee, hot milk, whatever.
Hmm.
And this guy here, which is like
For IT professionals.
yes. So like doppio lungo con latte, you just call it a mug, I guess, right?
Hmm.
So um, it's a large one. Actually, that's four. Well, this is not coffee, but
Still useful. Yeah.
but anyway,
So, but each one has a specific purpose, kind of like
yes,
the way our
that's it.
log tools work.
That's it.
Okay.
And it's the same story. So we can use that in the recording later. Um, and start with why would you use a different cup for a different purpose, and that is basically the same as with logs. So actually we should take notes. Do you take some?
I got them. I'm started here. So if I'm not looking at you, it's because I'm looking down here, making notes. Um,
Watching cat videos, I guess.
no, the cat videos are in the cube over there, which is why I have my headphones on.
Okay, okay.
Uh,
uh,
so
Minimum
if
requirement, where do we
Yes.
start?
Well, for me, the minimum is a place to collect them and hold them for long term because a lot of systems, for me, troubleshooting was always like 7 days, maybe 14 days I need to hold logs, but that's never what my company asked. My company always asked me to hold, can you give me 365 days of logs? And I was like, let me go back and figure out what's going on. But, and I never had that solution at my last company because I just wasn't familiar with them. But if you're just looking just to kind of collect and store, what's the first one that comes to your mind?
Uh, Kiwi,
Okay. All
Kiwi,
right. So we're going with Kiwi first.
simple. It's okay. I have to admit it. It's been a while that I deployed it the last time, but it's like 10 minutes deployment, right? Um, it's super affordable.
Okay.
So even the smallest shops will be able to afford it and to use it. Um, it has some fancy features like that spoofing feature, IP spoofing feature. Um, so there might be like 100 log sources or whatever, and not all of them are really important. Okay, so and instead of sending logs from 100 sources to an expensive solutions that's perhaps built by the amount of logs that's coming in,
Hmm.
you can send everything to Kiwi, and Kiwi would apply rule-based filtering and only forward specific logs or logs from specific sources to the receiving part, like the SIEM solution, whatever, and it will spoof the IP address. So whatever solution sits in the chain next, it still looks like the source is sending it directly to the SIEM solution. So that is a pretty nice feature, and
Okay.
it's just the worst thing happens is like, how do you collect your logs? I
Yeah.
don't know, right? So
yeah,
that
That's
doesn't.
a bad call.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I did, this is years ago, but I did it with the native Orion stuff, which was fine, but I could only hold so many days worth. And that's when my company asked about this, and I should have recommended Kiwi, but honestly, at the time, I didn't know about it. So, If we're
We tend to ignore that it's such a powerful tool. It's basic, but it's extremely powerful in what it does, right?
hmm
And it's on the market since, I don't know, 15 years, more,
wow, okay,
almost 20 years, I think, right? I don't know.
all right, so
Very mature.
yeah. And if that's something, if we're looking for storage to check a compliance box for a HIPAA or Sarbanes-Oxley or GDPR or any of the lists of letters, this is something we can do if we just store it. Like if I don't have to take action on it, I just need to store it somewhere to check that box. This is a solution that basically does that for us.
Absolutely. To be compliant, there's a few checkboxes to take, and one of them is actually store the stuff. Okay.
hmm
Obviously, you probably want a little bit more if we go into that direction. So
Yeah.
Kiwi
But
would be
let's
fine
wrap this one up
for
first
store,
because
right?
yeah. So I want to make sure I got my notes right. So I got Kiwi down. Kiwi is lightweight, it's fast, it's affordable. It does the IP spoofing, so everything looks like the original source. It does filtering, so you don't have to overload log solutions, and then it can store stuff for long term for compliance reasons.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I think we've got Kiwi down then.
Okay. So what's the next step up? I have a different cup. So we move on,
Okay.
right? To the
Let's.
different cup. If we move on from Kiwi to security, the first thing comes into mind is you need more intelligence, like forensics, for example. Um, Security requires that there's a little bit more data being collected, and
Mhm.
it's visualized in a different way. So if you look into security related data, you can't just look at logs, single logs. Okay,
Yeah.
takes too much time. I think. Also, if you collect logs from different sources, and let's play with a situation. Someone is connecting to an environment via VPN, okay, and accessing various sources. Everything is fine, correct usernames, um, but still, you would like to see what is normal to create kind of a normalization, okay?
Oh, for baselining. Yeah, okay.
Baselining, yeah, for security baselining. And you need a visual component to do that, and a powerful search engine. And that is where a SIEM comes into play. And as it happens, we have one, right? Um, so what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think about the security event manager?
Well, for me, it was always that it was never my job. I was never a security guy. Security is part of everyone's job, but I wasn't a security officer. I wasn't a security operations person at my company. But for me, being able to correlate, uh, how do I want to phrase this? Correlate not dissimilar events. So similar events. So an attempted login on a router is typically monitored by a different team than a login on a Windows box versus a login on a web server. But if you're in the process of kind of being attacked, some type of malware or anything like that, those are the kind of events you're going to see, but they're going to be in different systems. So for me, and I did see this, it was one of the things that Security Event Manager had, that it would kind of pull these all in. And since they all basically said user login somewhere, you could surface that really easily and be like, there's normal is here. And then all of a sudden yesterday you had a spike like that. You're like, something's going on. And then I know where to start digging in.
Sure, it's what do we call this? Normalization of correlation, I think. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
You look for a specific incident, or just like your login. You use like the router as an example, and a Windows login.
hmm
Both is a login. Obviously, if you look at the message itself, it looks totally different.
Yeah.
But a security event manager is able to understand the messages. And if you look for the logins, it will actually list all of them. And you can follow a line and see what happened over there. The interesting thing is that these features work basically out of the box.
Oh.
So there's quite some intelligence. We call them connectors, I think, right? You
hmm
remember that concept, right?
Yep.
Um, so where we should definitely talk about the connectors. So it works like a Babel fish. Okay, do you remember the Babel fish number 42?
I remember.
And a message comes in, and SEM is able to understand exactly what's happening there. So the message might look a little bit like cryptical, blah, 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 okay? But SEM understands it, whatever it is, and understands the stuff coming from a totally different system and puts it into one bucket, which allows a much more higher usability. Okay, you can search for whatever it is out of the box. That's the shiny thing.
And it offers a bunch of reporting. It offers a bunch of reporting as well, because that's the other thing. Yeah, that I have had. You know, every couple of years we would have someone come in, and I worked for a law firm, and they would say, "Hey, we need a such and such type of report. We need a Sarbanes-Oxley report. We need a compliance report for this." And for us, it was running around for like 4 or 5 days collecting this information from all the different systems to say, "Yeah, here, we're pretty sure we meet your requirements," but being able to say, "You know what? I need a compliance report today." Instead of going back to, if in Kiwi, you got to go back to the raw logs, but in SEM, you can just say, run me this report, because it has the intelligence on the backside. So I don't have to be the security officer. I don't have to know everything. I don't have to know all the things I'm looking for. It just kind of has that built in for me.
The knowledge, we should take a note of the knowledge.
Okay.
The expertise. You don't need to be a security expert to use a tool like Security Event Manager, because we bring all these features into the product, like the reports, like you just mentioned. You have so many in the States. Your HIPAAs and PCIs, SOXs, whatever is out there. There's so many, right?
Okay, so if we...
All
right. So if we're doing SEM and we're going through and we're just kind of checking the boxes, SEM has expertise built into the product. It has intelligence built into the products. A lot of the stuff is out of the box. There's advanced reporting, normalization, and correlation. There are actions you can take.
Actions.
Yep. I wrote that one down. Yeah.
Yeah, actions is a good point.
I remember the USB blocker, which I thought was a really neat thing in there. It's good for baselining security, and it has an incredibly powerful search.
Okay.
Am I missing anything?
Oh, yes. File integrity monitoring.
Oh, yeah.
Who touched a file? Usually you would organize access rights. So you make sure that only the right person is able to touch your file. But example, someone working in IT usually would be an administrator and might have the permissions to open each file anywhere. But is there a reason why the admin opened a file on an HR share at Friday afternoon? Whatever, right? And without a tool like file integrity monitoring, you might not even see that. I have even, there's a much better example. This company SolarWinds, we happen to work for. And we use shared files somewhere, Excel spreadsheets on a shared folder, and occasionally these files disappear. When someone just cut it instead of copying, and we could check with file integrity monitoring who touched it last. So it's quite useful. But also on the actions, there's we just briefly touched actions as an option. Actions, it's so nice for any kind of automation. So stuff that happens frequently, you could create like an automated response without wait for an administrator having a look and what's going on there, what do I need to do. We can automatically respond with any kind of actions. USB you mentioned, I think worth talking about would be a threat feed intelligence thingy.
Okay.
Where we use external sources to get input for hijacked website, etc. So it will be inside the product. That's another nice feature. What else? I don't know. Any other idea?
No, I think that's this. This is not a short list, so I think we've got plenty to talk about when it comes to SEM. Good. Okay, so all of that is really good information, but I wasn't a security person. I was a network engineer. So when I needed logs, it was because BGP routes weren't propagating or an interface went down. And if that's something critical, I didn't normally have time to wait for a polling cycle.
Oh.
So I think, I know we did security. I think this is probably a good point where we can jump off and talk about using logs for troubleshooting. So in the network engineering space, log analyzer really kind of comes to the surface for me. So
it's not just for network, right? Even for Windows events. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's as near real time as you can really get with logs for the purpose of troubleshooting. And it does it's got that nice histogram so you can see when things go really weird, good filters on the side. So we've got, I'm making sure I got all the stuff. So we've got filtering, near real time logs. What am I missing here?
The most important part.
Okay.
It's Orion based.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. So you're already familiar with the interface. You're already familiar with the way it works. So you can just kind of get with it. Actions have been added to it. So now you can basically build your alerts and have your actions off of those. So alerting.
I think you mentioned a nice keyword over there with the polling. If something happens like network performance monitor, server application monitor, would just poll data each X amount of minutes. But if something happens in between, we don't know. And that's where the logs come in for troubleshooting. Yeah.
Okay, so that's between polling cycles.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, for me, that was like network level stuff. I really liked it. The search has gotten really, really good. This one being in its own database and is like as you're typing, it's filtering the stuff off. So.
Yeah.
Sorry, someone coming in.
I'm pretty sure Leon was walking around there, so we would hear him.
Yeah.
Well, what else? Is there anything else interesting for our log analyzer? We do the filtering. We can apply like tags.
Oh, the tagging. Thanks.
And forward any kind of event. It doesn't matter if it's a syslog or a Windows event log to the Orion alerting engine.
Yeah, and the beauty of that
are opportunities for any kind of actions.
Yeah, and the beauty of that is since it's already in your monitoring ecosystem, you can come back to whatever your initial reason for building that alert is. Like for me, it's like I have a route drop that may happen between polling cycles, but I need to know about it right now, like right now, so I can get on the phone with the ISP or get in front of the problem before it happens, get in front of my boss. And also having that for historical stuff for ports that go up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, and be like, no, there is a problem there. Let's go ahead and summon someone out and replace the copper. So it's actually we're aiding in troubleshooting. Yeah.
PerfStack.
Oh, the PerfStack integration.
PerfStack. Biggest note on your list. Yeah.
Yeah.
It integrates into PerfStack, so we can look at any kind of events and put another line next to it for whatever data we're interested in.
Yep, and that'll automatically be filtered by the node we're looking at, which is great. Perfect. Okay, so that's how we do troubleshooting with logs.
So we just talked about examples and where to use the tool, but there might be business requirements too.
Yeah.
What comes to mind? Can I use cloud-based tools? Do I have to use cloud-based tools or on-prem?
Right.
Quick example, here in around the corner in UK, anything public needs to be available to run in the cloud. So technically, we could probably deploy SEM, etc., in the cloud, but it's not cloud native. We have other things.
Yeah, so if that's the case, you can use something like Loggly or Papertrail, depending on which one will be the best match for you. The thing I like about those is that they'll take the logs basically in whatever format you send them. You don't have to worry about a collector being constructed. So if you've got something that's like a brand new cloud app that you're using somewhere, perfect. Those will both ingest it, and you don't have to wait for SolarWinds to build a collector, or you don't have to build your own collector to kind of wrap around that to normalize the logs.
So could we say, like, if the sources are in the cloud, it might be a good idea to put the system in the cloud too, and vice versa?
why not? I think that's probably a good place to wrap that session. So it's, where you need to think about where you want your stuff and think about where the sources are. And I think we could tie that together really well in a presentation. So I don't know about you, but I've got a hard stop. I got a meeting coming up, so I got to jump. And I know
almost
it's near the
dinner
end.
time for me.
Okay, so I'll let you get to dinner. And thinking back, we probably should have just hit the record button for this and just ran through.
We record it another time next week.
Yep, next week. I'll see you next week then, sir. Safe travels.
Okay, bye.
All right, bye.